It was a freezing February morning in 1957, and the streets of Philadelphia were quiet, the city wrapped in a thick, icy fog. Most people were still indoors, sipping coffee or huddled near heaters, unaware of the tragedy that was about to unfold. But for one man walking his dog along the edge of a secluded wooded lot, the morning would become unforgettable. As he moved through the leafless trees, his dog tugged insistently at the leash, sniffing at something unusual on the ground. At first, he thought it was just a piece of trash, a discarded cardboard box, dirty and worn, but something made him pause. Something about the shape seemed wrong. Slowly, with his breath forming white clouds in the cold air, he crouched down and opened the box. Inside lay a small boy, curled up and lifeless, his tiny body pale and rigid from the bitter cold. Bruises marred his fragile skin, marks of a cruelty no child should ever endure. His clothes were tattered, his hair matted, his little hands clenched in silent despair. He looked almost like he was asleep, yet the stillness screamed of a life stolen far too soon. Horror gripped the man. He staggered back, fumbling for his phone to call the authorities. The box had become a grim symbol, a shocking reminder that innocence could be destroyed in the shadows of a city no one expected danger from. Within hours, police swarmed the area, journalists arrived with cameras, and neighbors whispered anxiously about the tragedy. No one could identify him. No one came forward to say he was their child. He had no name, no family, no past that anyone could trace. He was simply the boy in the box. And as the cold wind whispered through the trees that morning, it seemed to carry a haunting question over the city: who could commit such cruelty, and why? The mystery had begun, a puzzle that would baffle generations and chill the hearts of everyone who heard his story. Once the boy was discovered, Philadelphia was shaken. Police arrived quickly, photographing the scene, examining the box, and carefully noting every detail. The cardboard box seemed ordinary, yet inside it lay a tragedy that no one could ignore. Neighbors whispered in fear while reporters scribbled notes for newspapers that would soon scream headlines like, "America's Unknown Child." Investigators worked tirelessly to uncover his identity. They measured his height, examined his teeth, and took fingerprints, hoping any detail might lead to his family, or his killer. Leads appeared from all directions. A neighbor reported a suspicious man near the area. A child claimed to have seen someone leave a box, but every thread unraveled, leaving only frustration. Police released sketches, pleading with the public to recognize him. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, yet no family came forward. No missing child reports matched. No confessions surfaced. The boy remained nameless. People speculated endlessly. Was he an orphan, abandoned by cruel relatives, or a runaway lost to the city's shadows? Each theory seemed plausible, yet unprovable. Meanwhile, the boy's small body lay in the morgue, a chilling reminder of innocence destroyed. His story spread nationwide, stirring outrage and sorrow. By the end of that first year, the boy in the box had become more than a news story. He was a haunting enigma, a symbol of hidden suffering, and a question the world could not answer: who allowed a child to vanish into the shadows? As the investigation dragged on, the mystery of the boy in the box grew darker with each passing day. Detectives combed through every clue, every rumor, every whispered lead, but nothing pointed clearly to the boy's identity, or to the person who had done this to him. The city buzzed with speculation. Was he an orphan, abandoned and unseen? A runaway, lost in a world that had no place for him? Or had someone close, someone who should have cared, committed a cruelty so extreme it shocked even the most experienced investigators. Neighbors reported strangers in the area, tips came from all corners of the city, and fleeting shadows near alleyways were noted, but each lead vanished, leaving frustration in its wake. Even the most promising information led nowhere. Psychologists tried to profile the boy and his abuser. Some believed the violence came from a broken family, others suspected strangers with dark intentions. Everyone had a theory, yet no one had proof. The boy in the box became more than just a case. He became a ghostly presence haunting Philadelphia, a chilling reminder of hidden horrors behind closed doors. Families whispered cautionary tales to their children. Neighbors looked at each other with suspicion. Investigators, weary but relentless, knew that each unanswered question was a failure, but every lead, every clue, was a chance for justice. Years passed, and the boy's mystery remained unsolved, yet his story spread far beyond the city. And still, one haunting question lingered: who could commit such cruelty to an innocent child, and why had the world failed him? The story of the boy in the box had gripped not just Philadelphia, but the entire nation. Newspapers plastered his face on front pages, radio broadcasts pleaded with listeners, and families everywhere scanned old photographs, hoping to recognize him. Psychologists and child welfare experts tried to create a profile, piecing together clues from his appearance, his injuries, and the small remnants of clothing found in the box. Everyone wanted answers, but the boy remained invisible, lost to the world. Communities organized vigils. People left flowers, toys, and notes at the edges of the lot where he had been discovered, each small gesture a desperate attempt to honor a life that had been brutally taken. Children were warned about strangers, neighbors watched each other more carefully, and the city felt a collective grief it could not shake. Yet, despite the outpouring of attention and concern, no one came forward to claim him. No family identified him, no witness revealed the perpetrator, and the case began to feel like a ghost story, real, tragic, and hauntingly unsolvable. Each passing year deepened the mystery. Sketches were updated as forensic techniques advanced. Appeals continued, urging anyone with knowledge to speak up. Letters poured into police stations from all over the country, some credible, many hopelessly speculative. The public's obsession with the boy became a force, pressing investigators to never give up. And yet, with every dead end, the frustration grew. The cardboard box, once merely a container, became a symbol of the tragedy itself, empty in answers, yet overflowing with sorrow. The boy's small, lifeless form seemed to haunt everyone who saw his image or read his story. Philadelphia would never forget, and neither would the world. He was no longer just a child. He was a haunting reminder that cruelty can remain hidden, that innocence can vanish, and that sometimes the most desperate efforts are needed to give a lost life a voice. Decades passed, and the boy in the box remained a mystery. But as science advanced, hope flickered. Investigators returned to preserved evidence, determined to see if modern technology could finally unlock answers that had eluded them for over 50 years. Carefully, they extracted DNA from tiny samples preserved in old evidence bags, fragile, yet holding the key to his identity. Every strand became a bridge between the past and the truth. Genealogists joined the effort, tracing family lines, analyzing distant relatives, and piecing together a web of ancestry that stretched across decades. With digital reconstruction, the boy's face was recreated with unprecedented accuracy, showing the innocence and fragility that had been stolen from him. The process was slow and full of suspense. Investigators knew they were close, but the past had a stubborn way of hiding its secrets. Every positive lead raised new questions. Could they finally name him? Could they uncover who caused his death after so many years? Each day felt like turning a page in a book that had been written decades ago but never read. The public watched as digital sketches circulated online, sparking renewed hope. People who had long given up on justice began to see a possibility of closure. For the first time in decades, it seemed that the boy who had been nameless, voiceless, and forgotten might finally be remembered, and perhaps, justice might follow. Even as the work continued, the shadow of his story loomed large: a child lost, a city haunted, and decades of unanswered questions. The boy in the box had waited patiently in the cold, but science was finally closing in, ready to reclaim his story from the silence that had swallowed it for too long. After more than 6 decades, a breakthrough finally came. In 2022, investigators announced what many thought would never happen: the boy in the box had been identified. His name was Joseph Augustus Joey Doe. The revelation sent shockwaves through the nation. Families who had followed the story for generations, detectives who had spent careers on dead ends, and a public long haunted by the mystery felt a mix of relief, sorrow, and lingering questions. The process had been painstaking. DNA from preserved evidence was carefully analyzed, compared to genealogical databases, and cross-referenced with living relatives. Every connection was verified, every lead meticulously followed. The results revealed not only Joey's ancestry but the family lines connected tragically to his short life. For decades, he had been a nameless ghost, a child whose suffering had been ignored. Now he had a name, a history, and a place in the world he never lived to know. Yet identification was only part of the story. How Joey ended up in that box, and who had inflicted such cruelty, remains largely unsolved. Authorities have kept many details private, protecting family while investigating the events that led to his death. Still, the breakthrough was monumental. What had once been an unsolvable puzzle was now a story with a human face, a reminder that persistence and modern science can pierce even the thickest veil of silence. Joey's story is tragic, yet it is also a symbol of hope. After decades of uncertainty and grief, a forgotten child has finally been remembered. The boy in the box is no longer just an enigma, he is Joey Doe, a name to be spoken, a life to be honored, and a story that endures. Even with questions remaining, the breakthrough shows that truth, no matter how deeply buried, can rise from the shadows, giving a voice to the voiceless. Today, the story of the boy in the box is no longer just a mystery, it is a memorial. Joey Doe, once nameless and voiceless, has a place in history, and his tragic life has left an indelible mark on the world. Though he lived only a few short years, his story serves as a stark reminder of the hidden dangers children can face, the cruelty that can go unnoticed, and the urgency of vigilance, compassion, and justice. Communities continue to honor his memory. Flowers, toys, and small tokens are left at memorials near the place where his body was found. People speak his name aloud now, Joey Doe, transforming decades of silence into remembrance. For law enforcement, his case stands as a triumph of perseverance and science, decades of investigation, dead ends, and unanswered questions finally leading to recognition. His story has inspired reforms in child welfare, raising awareness about protecting the most vulnerable, and reminding the world that every child deserves a voice, a name, and a safe place to grow. Yet, there is also a quiet, haunting sorrow. The questions of who caused his death, and why, still linger in the shadows. The cardboard box in which he was found has long been gone, but its symbolism remains, a chilling reminder of cruelty, neglect, and lost innocence. Joey's story teaches that even the smallest lives can leave the largest impact, that a tragedy once forgotten can be remembered, and that every effort to honor a lost child is a fight against the darkness that claimed him. As we remember Joey, we confront the uncomfortable truth: there are injustices in the world that may never be fully explained. But in remembering him, in saying his name, we restore some dignity to a life stolen too soon. The boy in the box, once a symbol of mystery and despair, is now Joey Doe, a child remembered, a story told, and a legacy that will endure, whispering to the world that even in the darkest shadows, truth and memory can survive.